You know, one day, somebody's gonna make a decent pair of gloves. So today we are doing inspection, and also there's the Swedish sponge oxalic acid pads are in the hives right now, and we will be switching those out. We'll be taking all those out and putting in formic acid. So we can do formic acid for 6 days and then come back and put new pads with formic acid for another 6 days, basically 2 weeks for mites, right? And then after that formic acid treatments, I'll put the extended release Swedish sponges with OA on them in. And I don't know if y'all, anybody follows Bob Benny, you'll see that they just released a part 2 on their series of their Veroa mite treatment. And there was a big indication in their research that the queen's heritage had a huge impact on VSH behavior. But on the video he released today, you'll also, if you watch it, you can also see that the Swedish sponges with the extended release oxalic acid actually performed better on as far as the treatments go. That performed better. The video he released today was talking about which queens from which genetics did better. And the answer to that question was a Poline crossed with a Caucasian. Apparently that cross fared the best as far as VSH behavior. Anyway, so I'm going to get into this. So we're doing pollen sub today. This will be the last pollen sub that I do for the year. And then after all this, I'm also going to do brood assays. I'm going to do like 20 out of each. Just checking mite levels. And then after this, I'll add sugar water in the feeder for them. I don't like doing this. I don't like inspecting them when the feeder has sugar water in it, because the bees are like 3 times as hostile for some reason when the feeder has feed in it. And so there's no feed in it right now. They should be out of pollen sub, and they're extremely active today. Probably could see a little bit in the video. But they're all 5 of these hives are very active. So we should get into it, I guess. This bag is silic acid pads. So we're going to be taking those out and we're going to be adding formic acid pads. We'll dip them in the sauce. Yeah, these bugs will probably be toast after this. They don't seem to like that acid very much. Probably just gonna start doing it without gloves. It's like they don't make any good gloves. They just don't. I haven't been in these for 2 weeks, so they built up a little bit of bridge comb and stuff. But I did a vapor, they have oxalic acid pads in here, which I'm taking out today. But I did OA vapor yesterday, and so then that's why. So we did a vapor yesterday, and then today we're gonna add the formic acid pads. are the Buckfast Queens. They're really extremely mellow, like as far as all the bees go. These guys have 9 frames, and then they have the drone comb frame. But I've split this hive twice this year. It looks like they're making a lot of progress in that drone comb. I may actually give them a second box because they've got every frame filled out and they're filling out the drone comb. And I know it's late September, but I'd rather give them something to work on because I can pull like 3 of these frames up to the top and give them 3 frames down here and give them something to work on. I think that's what I'm going to do. They're filling the drone comb with nectar. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, they got that all capped out. No, I just seen a beetle. Oh, there it is. Sorry, buddy. Got to die. Yeah, I'm gonna give them another box, honestly, because they don't have anything to work on. So they're completely out of space. The only reason they don't have a box is because they still had like a frame left. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Now, I was going to do some brood assays. I think I said that. Just to check. And so when you look at the brood assay thing, like Corey Stevens, basically the way he does it is like, right before they turn purple eye, like right as their eye color starts to change. That's what you want to look for. And then it's like you do like 20. If you don't find any mites, then that's it, you know, and you get a 4. I think to get an actual 4, I think you have to do like 100. But to me, if you do 20 and you don't find any mites at all, like you don't find nothing, 0, I think that's a pretty good indicator, you know. And you do kind of have to be like careful and cognizant of what you're doing, because if you pull the head off and you're not really paying attention, you could kind of mistake that for a mite. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. I don't see any. We're still going to do the formic. Yeah, I'm definitely going to go get them a box though. I'm not even going to disturb them anymore. I'm just going to stop, put it back, and then go get them a box. Because they're drawing the drone comb, which means, you know, they still have enough resources to do work. So we'll be right back. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull these 3 centers out of here. Oh, shit. And then I'll pull 3 frames out of the bottom, probably 2 of which that have brood, and like 1 honey frame. And then that way they'll move up in the top. They'll move up. They always move up. Maybe 4. No, I like 3. 3 is just kind of a better number. 3 because I could put 1 in the middle. I could put 1, 2 frames over and 1 2 frames over. And it just seems to work better that way. But because they have brood, so they have brood on the 3rd frame. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th frame off of the right side of the hive and move them up. And then space everything out with the 3 new frames. Oh, poo-poo. One thing too is I'm only using, well, moving forward, I have some plastic foundations in these, a lot of plastic foundation in these hives, but all the plastic foundations in these hives is from the 3 hives that I bought initially. So all the new foundations that I put in are these wax foundations, and what I do is I just melt some wax and like glue them in on the top and the bottom, and then I just stick them in there, and to me, from what I've seen, they start working on these 10 times faster than they do the plastic ones. They're more likely to strip the wax off the plastic ones than they are build comb on them. So I just don't like dealing with that wonky comb and everything, Okay, so we're going to pull this drone comb back out. Oh, and I just switched to some blue gloves, but I done tore the hand, so I'm probably just going to start doing it barehanded pretty soon, honestly. I'm getting real tired of buying gloves. It's just annoying. And the gloves are, I'm not saying the gloves are extremely horrible, but they're not great. You know what I mean? Like, they're just not great. They last maybe, well, I'm only doing hive inspections like every 2 weeks now. And those gloves lasted me like maybe 2 months. Maybe. lids on. Alright, so I'm going to put their pollen sub on. This is a little bit milky pollen sub, but it's kind of got a little bit more sugar in it than what I would normally use. But they're going to love it. It's going to be the best pollen sub they ever had. And one thing to note about that formic acid is it's not like the oxalic acid. Like the oxalic acid is extremely mild, but because it stays in there so long, it's really effective. The formic acid is very, very effective, but it doesn't stay in there that long. So what you'll notice is when you put formic acid treatment in there, you'll notice for the first like 3 days, they're extremely agitated. They're loud, they're fanning, like you'll know, you see it. Not that it's a bad thing, but that's just what happens. So basically what I've done is I've added that box. I know it's late September, but I think they got it in them they're extremely busy. All the hives are extremely busy. So I think that there's enough goldenrod and other stuff flowering right now that they might get a couple extra frames drawn out because they're working on that drone comb. So if they're working on that drone comb, then they've got incoming nectar. So just throw an extra box on them. I gotta go check my other hive in Bowden and see how it's doing. these hives, I don't even really use a lot of smoke on these hives because they're just chill. Like, these are the Buckfast queens. And these bees are just calm. Like, calm. You can see that comb's got a gap at the bottom. This is all brand new comb they've grown out in the last month. Because I had ordered the wrong sheets of wax foundation. They were like a 1/2 inch short. Ow. Oh, I squished the bee. Why did you do that? Oh, that hurt. Ow. Ow. Well, these might be the brood we're looking for. Way into the sunshine. Oh yeah. Oh, look at my holder. So when I'm doing these brood assays, that really hurt getting stung in the end of the finger. When I'm doing these brood assays, what I'm doing is I'm making a little circle with the little tweezers. I'm making a little circle and pulling the brood out like intact, right? And you're looking in the hole to see if you see a mite in there, and then you pull the brood out. You're looking for the mite, and then you look at the brood, make sure the mite's not on the brood. And if you have no mites, then that's good, right? So you pull out like 20. If you find a mite, then you're supposed to pull out like 100. Normally when I pull out worker brood, I don't find any mites. The last hive that I'm going to inspect made drones last month, or the beginning of this month, the beginning of this month they made drones. So when I pulled a couple of their drones out, the drones in that hive had mites, but That's the only Italian queen that I have. So there's that. The rest of these other ones are buckfast. These guys, they still just have sheets of brood. I mean, there's 3 frames of brood in this top box. I bet they're gonna have 6 or 7 frames of brood still. But they're getting some kind of nectar source somewhere. I mean, this whole frame just hatched, and there's already eggs in it. And this is a brand new frame too. Yeah, eggs on both sides. Oh, there's the queen. Look at her. She's so pretty. Actually, I mean, I really want her to go in the bottom box. Whatever. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put a little bit of smoke in here and maybe she'll go down. Maybe that'll make her go down in the other box. Alright. Let's put this one here. Two. It's always nervous. It makes me nervous when I'm doing an inspection and the queen's in the top box. one thing I like about oxalic acid is you can see the crystals. Like these pads still have plenty of oxalic acid on them. I'm not changing treatments. I'm not switching the pads out because there's not any more oxalic acid. I'm switching the pads out to hit the mites with a different chemical. So we're going to hit them with some formic acid. You know, it's just because the mites can build up a little bit of resistance to any chemical, even if it's organic. And we don't want that. So we'll just every like 2 or 3 months hit them with the formic. And they're working on drone comb, so I suggest everybody's doing pretty well. Yeah, because it just ruins this one, you know what I mean? I think that queen stayed in the top box. And you know, the thing about that with the double colony I've found is when the queen stays in the top box, they tend to get, the bottom box tends to get a little bit pissy. Not horribly pissy, but kind of pissy. I'm like half full of honey. We might move the drone comb to the other side of the box. Yeah, this bottom, that must have just hatched out. And they're putting pollen in that. They might have already moved all their brood in the top box. It's actually weird because it's like 50-50 of the queens have moved their brood to the top box. And some of them are still in the bottom box. And it's like they're filling all these up with pollen, which makes sense, you know. And then I guess, you know, she'll come back and put eggs in those ones with pollen in them, you know, because they want pollen where they raise their babies. That's pretty heavy frame. And that's quarter pollen and bee bread on that side. So like this colony, they pretty much kind of moved to the top box as far as their brood nest goes. Pollen, honey, pollen, honey. It's all that orange pollen. Honestly, I think I'm just going to start not wearing gloves because it's like I put these blue gloves on and then they tear like this, and it's like it don't even make sense to wear gloves at that point. It just don't. Like I'm going to get stung in the hands And the other gloves, like, they're too expensive to buy on a continual basis to only last, you know, a month or so. It just don't make no sense. Oh no, I dropped the frame a little bit. I'm sorry. Sorry. Yeah, see, the whole bottom box is just pollen and honey. I'm sorry. Yeah, I think that queen stayed in the top. Jesus Christ. Boy, that top box is heavy. Alright, so I gotta see. We're gonna do 3 pads. So, 3 formic acid pads. And like a pound and a half pollen cell patty. These pollen cell patties that I made had a little bit extra sugar in them, but these are the last ones I'm going to make. I won't be making any more. I mean, it's not like I overly get stung on my hands. Like the only time I really get stung on my hands is when I mush a bee, and I just got stung on my thumb, and it hurts really bad. But I don't know. The leather gloves, it's like this. Like I know I messed up. Like wearing the leather gloves and handling the mite treatment is no bueno. It just don't work. You know, I think I'm definitely going to start doing this without gloves. But I will tell you this. Like right now, I have some cuts on my hands. And that formic acid in a cut on your hand does not feel good at all. So again, the reason I like the oxalic acid on the sponges is, you know, if you look, you can still see the crystals on there, so you know there's still oxalic acid, and it lasts a long time. It works. Obviously, it works. So you see, 2 weeks ago I put these frames in. They've got these pretty much drawn out. They're starting to put honey, nectar in there. It's odd, you know, when I transitioned these colonies as I transition these colonies to 2-storied colonies, I find more often than not the queen is in the top box. Like, for some reason they like it there. They like to be in the top of the colony. And if you watch, I'll almost always tear this brace comb off, because I don't want it there, right? I want things neat and orderly. I don't want brace comb. I want to be able to pull the frames out as I see fit. And yeah, they probably build it back, but you know, whatever. Ooh, this would probably be a good frame to assay, I think. Oh, we squished one. Sorry. Hey, don't get mad at me. Don't get mad. Don't get mad. It's okay. Alright. So we're gonna take the little tweezers and we're gonna pick a row like this. Oh, these are actually probably a little past what they would say to check, but honestly, anywhere I think close to purple eye and up is going to be fine to check. And so what I'll do is I'll take like this and I'm going to check. I'm going to check them for mites, because at this stage, like, these guys are going to hatch in like a day. But if they had mites on them, you would see it, you know what I mean? Like, this one's a purple eye. You know, because the mite, what do you think the mites are doing in there? They're feeding on the larvae, right? And so when you check each one, you know, you're checking. That's what you're doing, is you're checking for mites in there feeding on the larvae. You know, so you know, like I'll pull out 10. You know, if I don't see any mites on those 10, I'm not pulling out anymore. Just not. I'm not going to do it. Because trust me, if there's mites in there and you pull the larvae out, you're probably going to see one or two. And it's like, I promise you, if you open one of these and there's a mite in there, you'll see it. You'll see it. And then so I do like that, and then I'm gonna check it. I'm gonna check that line, basically. And you know, like if you watch Corey Stevens or other people, you know, they'll tell you what you're looking for, right? So when you look in the cup, like if there were mites in there perchance, you'll see signs of it. You'll see little white castings on the inside of the cell and stuff. But when the bees have VSH behavior, you'll see, you know, like all these cells are capped over nice and even, right? They're nice and even. And then you'll see a couple that are kind of a little bit of a bump, 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 little bit of a bump. And what's happened here is they've uncapped these cells. And then they're recapping them. And so what's going on is they're checking these cells to see, like that maybe they think something, maybe, I don't know, maybe something's wrong in there. Let me check and see. So they take the capping off and then they recap it. And that's what they're doing here, is recapping these. And I just took this row right here and I just take like 10 out and check and see, you know, if I see anything or not. So I'd rather kill 10 larvae, pupae, than I would 300 bees. I mean, it just seems easier to me to take 10 or 20 larvae versus just killing 300 bees. Like, why not just take 20, you know? Let me see here. Oh, somebody came out. All laid up with brand new eggs. That's awesome. Look, the queen's right there. She's a buckfast queen. She's really pretty. Let me see if you can see that. Oh, maybe not. She's I think you can see that. She's right there in the middle, and that. These are kind of darker bees. They tend to be a darker color. A little bit less orange. Yeah, so that's the thing, is like both of these boxes already, the queens have been in the top box, both of them. And it just seems to be a lot of these hives, like once you make them a double, the queen goes to the second box. Like she goes to the highest box, and she comes down in the bottom and lays eggs. It's not that she don't, it's just for whatever reason she's always in the top. Like, I get it, you know, because in the winter, as the winter comes, you know, they're gonna move from the bottom to the top. I mean, it's natural, and that's why I like this time of year. The top box is heavier than the bottom boxes, you know. Anyway, they got four frames of brood up here probably. But I bet there's probably not any brood in the bottom. I bet they're filling everything in the bottom with honey. I bet they're filling that with honey. So they got 3 frames of brood, which is fine going like this. Like we're in mid fall now, so 3 frames of brood is fine. It's not, you know, it's not a big deal. We are going to add these new frames in there. I know they want to make honey, but so the queen is up here. You see, like these frames, they have, you know, they have honey up here, but she quit laying eggs down here, and they're not. These like, so these are like quarter honey frames, you know. I'm just gonna set that one right there. So they're like, you know, all this was brood, but now she's moved the brood up to the top box. You know, so these frames will have honey in them and pollen in them, but they won't have anything else, because she's moved up to the top. So they'll have that little bit of honey reserve, and the bees will kind of backfill it a little bit. But, you know, like they're not even working on that frame. I'd be surprised if I find any brood down here in the bottom box. Pollen, honey. Yeah, they know the queen's in that box. So they're like flying back and forth between these two boxes. They're not sure which box to go in. Pollen, honey. You know. I'm sorry, ladies. I'm sorry. It seems like the bottom box they're using for pollen and honey. And then the top box is their brood nest. So that's the way they're gonna, with the double, it seems like that's the most popular way to overwinter. Yeah, you can definitely tell they know the queen's in that top box. This is pollen, honey, pollen, honey, pollen, honey, pollen. Yeah, that's alright. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to move that over and put this So, two left. This one, which is a buckfast queen, and the other one, which is an Italian hybrid. On the last hive that I just did, I actually did find one mite in the assay, but it was just a female, non-reproductive, no offspring. Which is good, which means she wasn't fertile, she didn't make no babies, so that technically counts as a 0, so you could still have a 4 on the Harbo assay. Technically, to get a 4 on the Harbo assay, I think you have to do like 200 brood. I'm not doing 200. I'm perfectly happy seeing a 3 on the Harbo assay, and just 3s forever. I don't care. I don't really, if I do 10 and I don't see any mites, or I do 20 and I don't see any mites, I'm not doing 100 or 200. There's just to me, there's no point. It'd be different if I seen 20 and I seen 1 mite. Yeah, then I could see, you see 1 reproductive mite, then I could see doing 100. Like that pink hive, I may actually do 100 on it, just because I seen the mites in the drone pupae. But at the same time, I did 2 vaporizations since then, 2 OA vapors, um, and then they have the extended release in there all the time. So I just occasionally will do vaporization, but so I did OA vapor twice since I found those mites in that hive. So we're gonna recheck them today with the Harbo assay and see what's going on in there. Well, that's interesting. There was a little wax moth in the lid. He couldn't get in there because most of my inner covers have a screen on them. So I think I like the screened inner cover, and then I'll have a cutout up here for them to come, like as an entrance, a second entrance, or a vent, however you want to look at it. I guess you would say my hives are vented hives. Would be the technical, proper description. Say they've been doing work, son. And these pads, so these pads have been in here like a month and a half or so, and you can still see the crystals on the pads. That's why I like this extended release OA style treatment, because you know it's lasting because the chemical's still there, right? And it's not a man-made chemical, so you don't in Europe they've been using oxalic acid for 30 years, and there's been absolutely zero indication of immunity by the mites. So it's like, why are we trying to create all these new chemicals to combat mites when we already have chemicals that we know work? It's just dumb. We're just creating more problems than we're solving. Well, no beetles on that one. That's always good. A lot of times, especially with these drone comb frames, if you do get mites in there or beetles in there, they'll get in these little crevices. That's why I always like to keep the frames tight against this. But you can't keep it tight on the bottom part, so the beetles will hide in there if they get in there. Are we working on that one? Alright, we're working on that one. I may push them over one, probably. Oh, the honey. They've backfilled all these brood chamber combs to honey. Wax foundation I put in, they like 3/4 drawn, and they filled it all with honey. So that means this hive, their brood nest is still in the bottom. So those two, their brood nest, they've moved their brood nest to the top. This hive's been a two-story or two deep, double deep hive longer than those two, and their brood nest is still in the bottom. Yeah, all honey, every bit of it. They got a little bit of cat brood left right there. Oh, sorry. All honey. 3/4 drawn frame. Honey. Oh, honey. I mean, that's fine. It's perfectly fine. It's not a big deal as far as that goes. Like, I don't really care where they choose to put their brood nest, but it will be interesting to see. Like, these guys already have their brood nest in the top. These guys have their brood nest in the top. These guys have their brood nest in the bottom, and they're doing honey in the top. And so it'll be interesting to see how it plays out in the spring, you know, one hive to the next. It will be interesting to see, like, what the difference is over winter. That will be interesting. And on these double deeps with these OA extended pads, and you can actually see how much is still crystal still on that one. With these, I actually do 3 on every deep box. And I've seen extremely low, like 0.001 non-reproductive, 0.001 non-reproductive, kind of like mite levels. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm gonna assay those as well. I'm gonna do assay all of them. Small hive beetles, smash that little booger. Oh, there's 3 or 4 in this. That's probably the most small hive beetles I've seen in any hive this year. There's like 5 in that one frame. Y'all be alright. Calm down. And so anyway, so when I use the oxalic acid extended release pads, I put 6 for like a double. But when I do the formic pads, I'm only putting 3 for a double, 2 for a single. Just because I've seen how they behave. It's like they might have some drone larvae in there. So, alright, so what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to do like this, and you can see this one's like just right at there at the edge of like purple eye larvae. So I'm going to pull it out. Obviously it's not like great. Just check and see. You really want one that's like right at the verge of purple eye. This one's okay. You don't want ones that turn into a mush ball when you pull them out, because you're probably just going to find like singles, females anyways. So you can already see like they've done this one, they checked this one out anyways, they already uncapped this one. So I'm just going to pull it out, look at it. I'll throw it in there. And I also want to look in the cell. I want to look in the cell, not you. Get out the way. So like you want them right there where they're turning gray eye, like slightly pink eye, purple eye, whatever you want to call it. Like those are the ones you want to be pulling out. So like I said, I'll pull 10. If I don't see anything, I'm not gonna pull anymore. Because if you pull 10 and you don't see anything, I feel like I know what the standard is. I mean, you're supposed to, like at minimum, you're supposed to pull 20. But if I see VSH behavior already and I pull 10 and then I don't see anything else, you know, then why would I bother pulling anymore? It's my kind of consensus. And these are right there. They're right there at that like gray purple eye stage. And so the thing is, okay, so if you do find a solitary red female, then she's considered non-reproductive. You'll find one every now and then. You will find a non-reproductive female. It's not a big deal. They're red. you'll see it, you know. So see, I mean, that's it. It's pretty simple, really. And the other thing too, if you start getting a bunch of mites in your hives and you inspect your hives relatively frequently, you would see them. You know, they're not hard to see. They're not microscopic. Um, they're fairly conspicuous, in my opinion. And then, you know, the other thing too, like I said, if you have bees that are exhibiting VSH behavior, you'll see it when you do inspections, because you'll see some of the cap brood that gets uncapped. You know, you'll just see it. Even like here on this sheet, you know, there's brood that's, so this is brand new capped, right? And so there's brood that's not capped yet. They're still in the pupae phase. But then you see like this one that just got capped, they've already chewed a hole in it. And then this one that just got capped, they chewed a hole in it. And they're inspecting, you know, and if they don't sense anything once they chew the capping a little bit, then they'll reseal it. If they do smell something they don't like, then they'll open it up like all the way, and you'll see the whole pupae's face, you know. That's a daggone chipmunk. 2 of them. What y'all doing, man? Y'all ain't supposed to be out here. Y'all got work to do or something, man. Y'all gotta go get ready for winter. Find some food. Y'all ain't back here playing, man. Bro, just packed with pollen bee bread, man. Like half a frame of bee bread, bro. Oh yeah. Alright, what y'all doing over here? Alright. Yeah, these guys are doing really, really well. We're gonna put this honey frame on this side. Give them their formic acid pads. Trust me, they do not like formic acid. Formic acid is a little bit more harsh than oxalic acid is. But oxalic acid lasts longer because it's crystals. Formic acid is a liquid and flammable, slightly explosive. Put a little pollen sub on there. Little beetle trap. The beetle traps are 75-25. They 25% work and 75% don't. Just what it is. Almost perfect landing. Alright, so this hive is the hive that made the drones a month ago. And it in the drones, it had, I did find one reproductive mite. So that'd put it like a 2 on the Harbo scale. I mean, it's not bad, but this is also an Italian hybrid. So I've been very pleased with the buckfast bees. They seem to kind of keep the mites in check really on their own. I know the oxalic acid probably helps, but I think next year I may select a couple to do non-treatment and Harbo assays and stuff, and see if I can make some breeders. I think that's what I'm going to do next year. Most of the mean bees from the hive that I eliminated or killed, I guess you could say, whatever, or integrated or whatever, they came over to here, but it's been a month and a half, so most of those bees should be gone. These were the bees that would just like swarm you, kind of. So I'm pretty sure, fairly certain, most of those bees are probably dead by now. This hive originally was actually pretty chill. The hive that got integrated, which made those hives 2-story hives, double deeps, they were not nice. They were angry. They would just swarm you. Like, oh, I can swap that out with some. I got some good ones up there. I ordered some more foundations so I can swap these out. I'm actually just going to take them out right now. I'm actually just going to stop and go get some foundations. Hiya! Alright. 4 wax foundation frames. In case we need them. I know we need 2 because I'm going to take these out. Now, they actually, there's a foundation, so there's a foundation in here that was like this, and they had drawn out like already, and I left in there. But because they haven't worked on this one, I'm going to give them a new one. Boy, that smoker has been cooking today, boy. There ain't been no issues. I lit that thing and it's been on fire. You know, it's strange. They got this honey, whatever it is, and they capped it really quick. This honey, they didn't. Now, maybe they're eating it, maybe they're not. But they built all this comb up after they capped this stuff. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's like normally they cap it all even like that, you know? Anyways. See, this one is the one that was like it was like a little strip. It was only a strip this big. All right, check this out. Look, they've already drawn this out. This was a little bitty strip that big. And they've drawn all this out in like 3 weeks, I think. And they've braced it at the bottom, which is stellar. So that means it's not going to swing. And they'll probably fill it out most of the way. They won't fill it out 100%. They won't do it. They're going to build it the shape they want to build it, and that's just the way it is, Bobby. But they will draw out if you just put a strip in there, they will draw it out. As long as there's a flow or you're feeding them, they'll draw it out. I could leave them short strips in there, feed them 1 or 2 more times, and they would draw that out. But I'm just going to put the whole sheet in because this time of year they're more likely to draw it out than anything else. Get out of there, come on. Now these look like they're gonna be just right here. There's already one right here that they've uncapped. So I'm actually just gonna start right there. Now this bee, if you can see, there's a brand new bee on there. That bee would have hatched probably tomorrow, tonight, something. And it's unfortunate, but this is what we have to do to check these things. So you want them like this. You want them like purple eye, like that when you check them. You can just set them down like that and put them in a pile. Now like this one, let's see. Alright, we're just going to take that one anyways. And, that's the other thing. If there's mites on them, you're going to see them. You're going to see them. Because what do the mites eat? They eat the bee, you know what I mean? Like, it's just that simple. Like, the mites eat the bee, and that's how they reproduce. So you would see them essentially. You're either going to see them on the bee or you're going to see them in the cell. One of the two. And like I said, I'd rather do this. I'd rather do this than mite washes. Personally. I mean, it takes a couple more minutes, I think. But like this, this is a perfect example. You can see uncapped cell, 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 uncapped cell. Uncap cell, uncap cell, uncap cell, uncap cell. Like you get all these cells that are uncapped, right? Because if they uncap the cell and there's mites in there trying to reproduce, the mites die, right? So this is what they consider VSH behavior, right? This uncapping. And like these, like I just did 10 right there, not one reproductive, non-reproductive mites. They're all like about to hatch / purple eye. And there's no mites, like the whole line, there's no mites. But there's no mites because they're killing them, you know what I mean? Like they're killing them before they get there. So that's what you want to see. These are the bees you want to make new colonies from. Is colonies like this that you see that kind of behavior, you know. And it's like on here you see milk brood, and then you know new cap brood, and then even with the new cap brood you still see some uncapping, like right here, right there. And so if a mite gets in the cell, that's what they do, is they come over and they uncap it. That's that VSH behavior that you want to see. But that's it. That's all the assays that I'm gonna do. That's all that I need to see out of these bees. They're all doing really good. Like I said, I did see a couple of mites in the drones that they had made, but then I come back, you know, and I check the workers, and I don't see any mites in the workers. And you know, that's okay. You know, that is okay. But it is getting cool, you know. There's not going to be a whole bunch more inspections. The weather's getting really cool. It's probably right at around 70 today, and you know you can tell, you know. But like today, all day the bees have been busy, son. They have been busy. And then again, like you know, like I said, this is another colony where they've got the brood nest up top. And I actually just made this a double 2 weeks ago, and they've already got probably 4 or 5 frames drawn in the last like 3 weeks. So you know, it's good stuff. Probably gonna mix in some of these frames today because they've got frames they're drawing on, and then they've got frames they haven't started yet still, because like I said, they've only been a double for like 3 weeks. But they got this frame that's like no work on that side, but like this other side's like halfway drawn. So I'm gonna put it in the middle over here, right in the middle of their brood nest, basically. And that just forces them to do it, you know. It forces them to work on it. So then I'm just going to give them the new ones. So we'll put 2 new ones in there for them. It'll be what it'll be. I mean, they're not going to draw those, but if they do, if there's some kind of flow, if the goldenrod flow lasts, you know, another 2 weeks, they may draw that frame. So that's why I'm putting it in there. You know, it's like I don't expect them to draw it, but it could be a possibility. You know, it's like, if goldenrod lasts, you know, 2 more weeks, they might draw 2 more frames, because like when there's a flow, like most of these bees will draw a frame a week. If you mix them in, if you're doing an inspection every week, and you're checkerboarding your frames like every week, back and forth, 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 right? You can get them to draw pretty much a frame every week. pretty much a frame every week is what I've found. As long as there's nectar. And if there's not nectar, you can feed them. You know, if you're feeding them, like I feed them like a 0.75 to 1 or a 0.5 to 1. And dude, they will draw a frame a week every week if you want them to, you know, as long as they're flying, as long as it's warm enough, you know. I really like the nice bees. I don't like angry bees. I don't like bees that want to sting me. Like, these bees are super chill. Like, they're not worried about me. They're not worried about what I'm doing. I can just be like in here touching them. They don't care. What they care about is their resources and their babies and their house, you know. Like, if you're cool and calm, most of the time they're cool and calm. But I've had a couple angry hives that I've had to kill the queen. I've killed a couple queens this year. I'm not even gonna lie. I've definitely had a couple queens that I killed this year. That's what it is, man. See, they've had a whole. This is half drawn out. This side's they barely started working on. This side's had brood hatch out of it. So this frame, I'm actually gonna put right in the middle, right? Because it's already had brood and this side's drawn, then that means that they will finish this side. They will finish at least that side. These guys are a little bit more, they get agitated a little bit easier than the buckfast do. Like I said, they're an Italian hybrid, and they will get agitated. Like, they already started hitting my hand and stuff. They're not horrible. They just, you know, they'll headbutt you and run into your hand and stuff like that. But you give them a little bit of smoke and they're kind of chill. The other hive, they would literally swarm me, and I got stung like 15, 20 times on my wrist. Like, they got me several times really good. These guys are all hatching. Honey. Put that back in like that. And that's going to go against. I'm not gonna have angry bees, like, personally. I can't have angry bees. I just can't do it. So they did end up building a little bit of drone comb on this frame. A little bit wonky. Oh no, they had an egg in that queen cup. It didn't have any royal jelly in it, but it most certainly had an egg in it. And it is not that time of year. Sorry, ladies. Y'all's vacation is canceled. No, ma'am. Denied. Passport, visa canceled. What y'all thinking putting an egg in that cup, man? Come on. Bro, what are y'all doing right now? Come on, leave me alone. Like, quit messing with me, man. I don't know what y'all doing right now. What? Stop messing with me, man. I ain't done nothing. Jesus Christ. Brother! Most definitely eggs in there. Y'all know what these guys thinking building a queen cup. That was a swarm cup too, which I just added this top box to this hive. So what I did is I took out like 3 frames like I did the other one. I took out 3 frames. I added 3 new frames, and then I put 3 frames up top and everything, and because they were wall-to-wall packed. So I get maybe they still had the swarm mentality, because that was definitely a swarm cell. That wasn't like a super seizure cup. Yeah, I mean, they've drawn all 3 foundations, because this is a brand new foundation. This is a brand new foundation, and that's a brand new foundation. So they've drawn 3 brand new foundations in 3 weeks since I made it a double deep. Well, plus what they've drawn up top, so probably 4 or 5 foundations in the past. Well, I will say month. So we'll say 4 or 5 foundations in the past month. I think I'm gonna do these right here. Yep, that's it. Yeah, so that's 0 again. No mites in those. You know, like I said, I mean, if there's mites in there, you're gonna see them, and you know, you can do the assay. You can read the literature. You can do the assay however you want. I've read the literature. I've listened to the lectures. I kind of get a very good idea of how it works and what's going on, and I do. You know, right now, because it's fall, I'm doing bi-weekly inspections and assays bi-weekly. And I do see a couple mites here and there, like one non-reproductive, one non-reproductive. You know, so I do see them, but it's been pretty docile. But you know, the thing is too is I'm doing constant extended release treatments, right? So it's not like I'm not treating. So it's not a good representation. It's not the best representation of how well the bees are as far as VSH goes. But you still see it, because like this hive, like I said, they made drones, and I seen a couple mites in their drone, right? And they allowed it. But that's not the end of the world. It's how many mites is allowed to maintain in the colony. And when you look at it as a whole, they're not allowing them to stay in the colony. They're not allowing them to be in the worker brood. But again, I am treating as well, so you know, you have to take that in consideration. These guys, like I said, these guys did make drones. The queen's right there. She's really pretty, but she's a dark. She's like a what do they call that? I forget. She's really, really, really dark brown. She doesn't actually look like a Caucasian queen or an Italian queen. She looks like one of the other, like the dark brown ones, the Carniolan. She looked kind of like a Carniolan. Like she's real dark. I mean, you can probably see her right there on the corner. But she's really dark. So. Doing a good job though. She's laying them eggs. I'm not even going to do anything else. I'm going to take this frame and put it in the middle right here, because I know, being that it's already half drawn, they'll draw it out real quick. I'm going to take these pads off. They're starting to get hostile. You can see, you probably see, like they're starting to fly around a little more. Starting to get a little bit hostile, which is you know, they're not, these aren't bad compared. The hive that I integrated, that I killed the queen and integrated, these guys aren't bad. They just start getting noisy and they start like headbutting a lot, but overall they're not bad. Let's get this going on. Alright, so we're going to put 3 pads in here, just like before. 3 nice juicy pads with formic acid on them. And then I got this juicy pollen sub. Now this pollen sub is like this. It's a little bit wetter than normal because I put a whole bunch of extra sugar in it, which is fine. They need it, and it's fine. So, hiya.